All right, hey everyone, welcome back to another Speedcast on. Uh, oh geez, that was bad.
We're talking about Xbox and how the market.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Speedcast. Today we're talking about the Xbox increases price on games, consoles, accessories. We are joined by Gaming for Insight and Gamers Generation. Gentlemen, what do we think? The games are going up to $80. We got these older consoles that, the Series S went up $80, and then the Series X went up 100, and just major increases down the board. What do we think?
Revolt, pirate everything. You didn't hear that from me. Yeah, it's not good. But we're probably gonna buy it anyway. I don't think it's a good look for the industry. I think everybody kind of already knows that, or everybody already feels that. Especially when we get these big quadruple A games that come out and nobody wants to play them, or they drop off the Steam top charts after 2 days or whatever. It's unfortunate, is what I'll say. But it's also not completely unexpected. We knew that Microsoft was making these big acquisitions and they're buying out everybody. What Activision, Blizzard. What were we going to expect? That they were just going to keep prices the same? I mean, it is what it is type of deal, to sound a bit defeatist. But I know Joe is a much bigger Xbox guy than I am. So Joe, what?
Well, yeah, I do love my Xbox controllers, my collection in the background, and it's interesting because I just picked up the new 2 Doom Dark Ages controllers, and I was looking at the pricing, and I saw that the prices of those controllers did align with the new pricing, so found that to be interesting. But we understand from an announcement from Microsoft May 1st, looking at a price increase, not specifically, it was the language I reason is carefully selected. It's careful consideration given market conditions. That's a quote unquote there. Nothing mentioned about the tariffs, but that is the language that Microsoft decided to use. So what does our pricing look like? I was talking about the Doom Dark Ages controllers. So the limited edition went from $79.99 to $89.99, and the Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2 went from $179.99 to $199.99. So about a $20 price increase, but it's really the consoles. That's where we're seeing it. Xbox Series S 512 goes from $299.99 to $379.99. Saying those 99s over and over again, that's going to drive me crazy. We're really going to need an AI for this show after that. So we're seeing these exponential price increases. I say exponential. I think $100 out of your wallet is an exponential price increase, but we're seeing that due to the market conditions here. It doesn't surprise me to see this because of the big T word, but it's unfortunate at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. It has to be the tariffs. I mean, we're so late in this console cycle to have, an increase, and it's the same hardware. It's not like the PS5 Pro. This is just the same old Series X, Series S, just getting a price increase. The only thing that would make sense would be for these tariffs to be a part of it. Otherwise, it's just completely egregious to just randomly, to just increase the price of it just because everybody else is, unless that's the case.
Well,
I mean,
actually,
it's expected. It's just, I don't know. It just seems.
I understand. I think the direction you're going in. This is not the first of events with price increases. We were first at least a month ago. We were impacted, or maybe surprised, but we were taken aback by Nintendo Switch 2 games being around the $80 price mark. And then we have these Microsoft increases with its products. And then Sony is now talking about increasing their game prices to around $80 as well. So we're seeing a pattern here across this in relation, in tight juxtaposition with the timing of the tariffs and that impact that it will have on importing items and manufacturing items, especially with what is being done overseas as well. So it is a series of events really here, where as a gamer, we're going to be spending more. What's interesting though is the pattern that services like Microsoft and Sony are thinking about going is to not release the physical games, but to do the Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, the subscription service, because it can cost less, from what I understand, in providing the subscription service than actually taking the steps to provide the game as a physical form outside of the subscription service.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. Yeah, it's definitely something. These I think we've been spoiled for a while. $60 games. It's been, I mean, pretty much almost my entire lifetime. At least the last 20 years, going back as long as I can remember, it was $60 unless something crazy kind of came out, one way or the other. But that's been the standard up until now. And it was a Pandora's box that nobody really wanted to open. Everybody was waiting for GTA 6. Right? Everybody was like, "Oh, is GTA 6 going to be $100? Is it going to be $100?" And then all of a sudden, Nintendo was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, our games are $70 plus." So yeah, it's definitely different. But that leads me to my next question. These games are increasing in price. So I'm trying to not be cynical here. I fully don't expect microtransactions to go away and loot boxes, et cetera, because that's just where all the money is. But if we're going to pay this much more money, we're talking, 33%, maybe more. Are we going to get the full version of these games? Or are we going to get, broken buggy messes? Are we still going to have to buy, DLC or definitive editions or game of the year editions, 6 months to a year down the road after this game comes out? And all of a sudden, this $80 game is a $200 game by the time you're done playing it. What do you think, GG?
Are we going to get complete games? Absolutely not. All of these, all of the bugs are going to be absolutely features on day one. If your game loads up, good for you. If it doesn't, well, sucks to suck. We've seen this pattern, with AAA, quadruple A release after release. Whatever the game is, it releases as a buggy mess. And this includes the complete, this includes the complete 180 that is Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk, when it first, people are easy to forget now, but when it first came out, it was absolute garbage. It was hot garbage. It was completely just dragged through the mud. People hated the game because of how high expectations were and how low the actual performance came in, right?
Whether it was the Sony store.
Yeah, and whether that was because it didn't even load on PS4, or when it did load, everybody was just blocky N64 looking textures or whatever. It didn't matter, right? The point is that this was a AAA game, and so you mentioned GTA 6, they have a lot riding on that because it's a 10-year cycle or whatever. But the thing is that even if it releases as a buggy mess, it's going to move consoles. It's going to sell like hotcakes, regardless. They can literally just take their time and say, okay, well, yeah, see, it released on day one as terrible, but see, we got a day two patch. It's all good, guys. It's all good. So meaning that they're taking all your pre-order money, and then right now what they're doing is they're just spinning in their chairs or just buying new super yachts with it. And when the time comes, when the shit hits the fan, so to speak, that's when they'll actually bandage and patch things together. Is this a hot take? Absolutely it is. The thing is that if you look at other games, which they kind of shadow drop out of nowhere, like Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, or even the remastered of Oblivion, these are not games that had this hype, that had all this money behind it for marketing and all that kind of stuff, and presumably not all that money put into the development. So what am I saying? Basically, if they're putting more and more money into the development cycle, into the development timeframe, into the marketing, you can fully expect that they're going to nickel and dime you at every opportunity. Is my like honest take on that. Do I wish it was different? Absolutely, I wish it was different. But like the guy who first introduced DLC, obviously he was like, you know what, we've got something here, and then I'm not the only one that noticed. I'm sure the next year every single game launched with a season pass included. Why wasn't that stuff in there in the first place? Like like.
Yeah. Well,
And
if there's any optimism I had. You got any silver linings for us, Joe? You got to have something for us, right?
It really puts it in perspective, because I remember with my Game Boy Color going to Toys R Us and buying, whether it be Link's Awakening for anywhere from $24 to $34, and that being the retail price for a new game, and now it's much more complex with that. It's interesting, though, with what we're seeing with the price increases, not only with the consoles themselves, but also with the accessories, the controller, for example. Whereas with Sony and Nintendo, those ecosystems are different from the Xbox ecosystem, because the Xbox ecosystem is more versatile as to play wherever you can on whatever device, as far as what options you have beyond the console to be able to play an Xbox title like Expedition 33 or Oblivion Remaster, as Gamers Generation mentioned. Really enjoying those titles, by the way. But say from your phone, for example, just my iPhone, being able to pull up Xbox Game Pass and then playing on the cloud, and not needing to pay an extra $100 for that console due to the price increase, because I have my phone and I can pay for the subscription service to be able to do that. But when you go to Nintendo and Sony, I mean, there is PlayStation Remote Play, but as far as PlayStation on different devices, it's not identical to the Xbox ecosystem. So I'm seeing a pattern here where we have this price increase, and there are different options that are compatible with Xbox games other than the actual Xbox controller, for example, that you would get from Xbox to experience that price increase. But being able to turn to the service instead of having to go out, buy the console, buy the accessories and whatnot, using what you already have, signing up for the service, and then still enjoying those same games. So I think gamers are going to start thinking differently about how they want to engage with Xbox because of the price increase. That's my take.
Yeah, that's pretty much what a nail on the head right there, gents. I mean, good luck, everybody. It's brace yourselves, strap in.
One thing I will say, Hanser, although I am mostly doom and gloom about the pricing and stuff, there's a lot of games out there that are already out there. I mean, if you still haven't played Cyberpunk by now, like you can get like the whole package with Phantom Liberty for probably like $40 when it's on sale or whatever. My point being is that like you don't have to just eat and buy into the hype. There's plenty of good content out there that you can enjoy, and you could probably make the argument now that we were just talking about Oblivion Remaster and Expedition 33. These are two technically one isn't a brand new game, but like two great games that are available in a span of just like 2 weeks or so, right? Like, don't just buy into the FOMO. I know that's like super easy coming from a place called Handhelds United with all the handhelds we have, but like you don't have to buy into the FOMO is the thing. Like you can enjoy. There's nothing wrong with enjoying what you have. There's nothing wrong with burning through that backlog of 1,000 games if you're like me. So like just wait for a sale if you want the game, but don't want to pay those prices right now. The unfortunate part that we're not talking about Nintendo right now, but the unfortunate part there is like Nintendo, as an example, is one that doesn't really decreases their prices as we've seen from like the Switch generation. So I think the real doom and gloom is if we end up seeing something like that from Microsoft. They don't really like lower the prices, and like we get kind of a double whammy there, because they are refusing to lower prices, but people are still buying anyway type deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, GG, you mentioned earlier, games like Oblivion Remastered, and then we also get these other, $15 to $20 games, Balatro, Schedule One, Dave the Diver, that people they're just playing like crazy. I mean, you got overwhelmingly positive. Schedule One is currently pretty high on the Steam DB charts. And then you mentioned my current, I'm going to shill a little bit for my niche here. The Claire Obscure was 50, not even 60. And then, I mean, before it's even launched, and last I checked, it's still selling from official sellers at like 40, 35 at a key shop if you want to go to the gray market. And that game's amazing. Like, I've got to touch it a little bit. I haven't had a lot of time to really dive deep into it yet, which I can't wait. But what little bit I have, I mean, and it's insane. So if they're selling these games for that on these small budget, these small studios, why do we need these big quadruple A titles in the first place? Like, is there still even a place for that in this market? I mean, like, if they want to charge me $80, like, make it an $80 game. Don't get beat out by a $15, $20, $30, $40 game. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at it as in a similar vein too. I mean, I think the closest analogy that I can personally give, without going way too tangential, because I know Joe is going to rope me in here, but it's like I'm thinking of it similar to like Hollywood. You can have these like huge, massive, multi like $100 million productions, from like Disney, Sony, Columbia, or whatever, or like an equivalent like streaming service like big box office production, Netflix, HBO and stuff. But you could still have like amazing content and shows come from, something smaller, right? Like Hulu or whatever. I get it. I know that's mouse money too, but like their production costs are way lower, right? So I mean, I feel like, the quality production doesn't always have to be based on like the input costs there, but often that is tied to, just perceptions, I guess, because, we have this unhealthy obsession with paying more money being associated with getting a better product. And unfortunately, I think that's like unraveled really the consumer society. Like we think, oh yeah, because you buy something for $10, it must be garbage, right? Versus like, hey, you get the exact same product but it's $50, it must be better, right? Like, I mean, we have to be a little bit more objective, I would say, even though that's like hard to do, you know what I mean? And even if we love, IGN or Kotaku or whatever, like we have to get outside of our comfort zone a little bit and see what other people are saying, because like, with all the all the controversy that surrounds games these days and stuff, we've seen that, like whether it's old media or like certain creators or whatever, they have a tendency to, just like shill some content or whatever. And I'm not blaming them specifically. It's probably sponsored. They were probably told by the developers and publishers, hey, we're going to give you this key, like, sell our product, advertise our product. Like it's one of those things. If you're talking about it from like an ethical or moral standpoint, is that okay? I mean, you could probably argue no, but then like if you're not quote unquote providing an objective review and you're just saying, hey, I enjoyed the game. Enjoying the game is not the same as saying the game is objectively good or objectively bad, right? So unfortunately, it's one of those things, like being a quote unquote smart consumer. It's like you have to kind of dig into that a little deeper yourself. All right. What's your thought on it though, Joe?
Yeah, I think we are seeing a pattern where companies are looking for an avenue to charge more per game and match it to the demand of wanting the game. My understanding is, well, we can get away with this. Can we get away with that? And maybe I'm a misinformed individual, and perhaps further transparency from the companies as to here's why we're charging an extra $10 for this game. Here are the reasons, and actually put out a statement that is, we're doing this because of these valid reasons. I just would like more details and more specifics. I really like that. I do not feel that these companies have really communicated the reason behind we need to charge this much more now than what we have for this reason. And I think there is also a pattern of, okay, well, we're going to charge this much, and to make it more worth charging that much, then we're going to throw in some cosmetics. We're going to do some bonuses, whether you have some sort of a 2x or 3x experience token that you could use to help you get an extra step ahead in playing the game. So it's easier. Another pattern that I'm starting to see in relevance to the price increase, and I'm not inclined to argue that this is really justified to do. I just cannot find a basis to say it's justified to do this, but a paid release date where we have a release date of, say, 3 days before another one. So your day one Game Pass release date, for example, is September 21st. But if you pay $20, you can play it September 18th. And the game is ready September 18th. But you have to pay to get to that release date, to have it on that release date. And that's unfair to people where it's part of the subscription cost. I want to play it day one, but you're playing it on the official day one instead of the unofficial day one, when really in actuality, it's in reverse, because for the companies, that earlier date is the official release date for them. They have to have the game ready. They can't say, well, it's an early release. Like you see on Steam, you see early release titles where the expectation is it's not ready. It's not fully polished. There could be some errors, some bugs that we encounter, but they're releasing it early and the price is decreased. No, the game's ready. I'm paying a cost to be able to pay it $3 before the other person. And I just don't see the justification for that. But again, inform me if there is really a reason to do that. I'm just not seeing.
No, you brought up a great point there, Joe. I mean, I didn't even think about that, but Hanstern was talking earlier about, microtransactions. And I mean, you could probably argue that that's a kind of microtransaction. I mean, if you wanted to get into the nitty gritty of it, there are like small creators that have made the argument that I know about, like playing a few days early, as you mentioned, as a sort of like pay to win. You imagine that if you are a creator trying to make content solely on this game and someone else gets access to it earlier, whether it's because they paid for it, whether they, or if it was because the developer publisher gave them early access to that game, that's an advantage, right? That's early access to that market. And so you could definitely say, yeah, that's pay to win, at least in the, in the creator influencer space or whatever. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's right. And I mean, I feel like, if we're going in this direction, even if I really wanted to play devil's advocate and say, yeah, $80 is justified, $100 is justified, $200 of moose money for, Canadians and for Grand Theft Auto 6 is justified, who's to say that they won't find some other way to like game it, right? Like we don't actually know. And yeah, that's the really unfortunate part of it.
And I think an interesting pattern that we're seeing, and I brought this up earlier too, is the subscription. So, for example, Ubisoft, you could pay their $80 to $100 or $120. I think even if you want to go full ultimate with one of their editions or close to it, you can pay that. But if you find that you like 10 different Ubisoft games and you want to play those 10 different Ubisoft games, instead of paying over $1,000 for all the ultimate editions, then you could subscribe to them, pay a monthly fee. And it seems like the incentive is, this amount per month. That's not as much as paying all up front for these or waiting for sales. So I'm seeing a pattern where it seems that companies are saying, join our subscription service. It's more approachable, it's easier, and it appears to cost less. And it worries me as a gamer, and Gamers Generation, you and I have talked about this, for the sake of game preservation, is we're no longer getting the game in a physical form that we can have put on my shelf, like my Switch games, for example, when it's in a subscription like that. And we've seen that with media content too. So, if you have Apple TV releasing The Gorge, for example, can you get that on Blu-ray? I don't know. That's an open-ended question. I'm still looking for my parents, but I digress. Point is that we're seeing a subscription service for games, and we're no longer able to physically hold the game in our hand, and we have a license or access to it. And then we're seeing on top of that even though you just have the subscription, you still could pay more to engage with that subscription content earlier rather than later. So it's like the cycle's continuing on a subscription basis now instead of having a physical form.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great points. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm the late to the party kind of guy, so you're not going to see me probably buying a lot of $80 games. But yeah, I mean, for everybody else, it's just vote with your wallet, see what you want. I mean, yeah, I bought Claire Obscure day one. But it's been 2-3 weeks and I haven't even started playing it yet. So, but yeah, definitely just I'm always a big one for a sale, but and value for the money. And I guess speaking of that, I mean, we've been talking about subscriptions a lot. I guess this would be kind of a two-parter question. So Game Pass, I mean, at the price it is now, I mean, at least for Ultimate's $20. If games go up to 80, is that more of a value now? And then this wasn't mentioned in the articles, about or any press releases of, hey, we're increasing prices on this, but you've got to expect that this $20 is going to be what, 25, maybe 30. I mean, what do we think here?
My question is more value to whom? Their shareholders, or like who are you talking about here?
Is it from the consumer perspective? Is it your
consumers?
I mean, is it more value to the consumer? I guess.
Well, the reason, and I'm just going to say point blank, Gamers Generation, you're the subject matter expert on this when it comes to what companies are trying to do with consumers. But this is what I'm thinking, and I'm interested in this. So I'm thinking, and I could be completely wrong here, but this is where Gamers Generation, tell me if I'm on the wrong track. But I'm thinking what companies are really wanting is for the consumer to join the subscription service for the games. And even Netflix, for example, now I just realized they have their own games. So they want you to join that. And even though they're getting $20 the first month, for example, I'm just picking a number, instead of $80 for the game, to play that game, you got to keep paying that $20. So I think, this is where I could be wrong, I think they'd rather have you join the subscription because they're going to make more money off of the consumer long term instead of get it immediately up front. And then they introduce more games. They continue to keep you intrigued and captivated to continue paying the subscription, and they make their money that way. But they keep getting an amount from you. They're guaranteed they're going to get that $20 a month from you. They don't have to worry about whether they release one game one month or one game another month. They don't have to wait as far as we have to release a new game every month. They got you with the $20 a month. And I think that adds up, and that to them is more of a win. And maybe, this is where I could be wrong again, but maybe the increase in the game price is just really more of a way to encourage the individual to join the subscription service than to pay the actual number. But I want to be corrected on this if I'm going the wrong way, but I'm really been trying to think on this and understand it.
That same boat with you.
I gotta ask you, Joe, are you asking me as a corporate mouthpiece, or are you asking me as like a YouTube shill? Like
I'm asking you as my fellow AI that I create this content with. That's what,
don't
be like ChatGPT, just agree with me because I pay a subscription for it. Actually tell me if I'm wrong or not here on what I'm thinking.
I'm sorry, I cannot process your query at this moment. Please come back when the servers are no longer congested.
Let me know in the comments if I'm going the wrong way on this.
Yeah. No. We really do need some tinfoil hats, and we got to get hands turned one too, because I think you've hit the nail on the head. Honestly, I don't think there's any real reason to, like, we were just talking about value. Handstern was talking about having more value in the $80 game. You could very much, I think, conspire or theory craft that increase of prices, increase of consoles themselves is actually an attempt or a ploy to push you in that direction to the subscription fee. It's like the dude who is selling a certain thing at the corner of the street. The first hit is free. Right? You buy a new handheld. I'm not saying which one, but you get Xbox Game Pass bundled in free. Free, right? Like free with my air quotes here. So like whether that's a 3-month trial or whatever, long term, that also costs them less money because they don't have to produce the physical media. They're just hosting the game on the servers that they're hosting for everybody else anyway. And I would say that one big advantage actually that Xbox like PC Game Pass has, rather than just like Ultimate over something like GeForce Now, is like, GeForce Now, they have to have like, their servers with their high-end GPUs they're like running, right? With Microsoft, if you are the one supplying the PC and you're just paying for that quote unquote privilege to, you know, rent the game to download for a certain period of time, their servers can actually be pretty lean. They don't have to spend all this kind of money on, you know, expensive hardware for upkeep. You know, and the fact that they own all of these IPs, like we were talking about with Activision Blizzard too, is just a cherry on top for them. I very much think that a lot of corporations have moved into this direction that Joe was talking about with this, what I call anyway, the Netflix model, right? Netflix is one of the first ones that really pushed it, you know? And now if you look at Netflix, for example, you're paying for Netflix and you still get ads, you know, like it's probably not far-fetched. If anyone was out there for that was a Futurama fan, you know, that they're gonna like monetize your dreams at some point. You know, you're gonna have an ad come up for dreams. It's like, you know, hey Joe, you looking for a new handheld? Why not check out the new ROG Ally 3 Pro, right?
Yeah.
You can pre-order it now at Best Buy. Act now, Joe. You know, like they'll have custom tailored, you know, ad dreams in your dreams, right? We're probably not that far from that, honestly. I mean, and you know, that's what advertisers will pay for, though. And if you want to get rid of that, yeah, you got to pay a subscription fee because you know, you don't want to waste your time or whatever. And then so you as a consumer have to like juggle. Am I going to pay this $10 fee to get rid of these ads? Or am I going to suffer through it, you know, for 3 minutes every single day of my life? Well, I'll just pay for the $10 a month. And they know that. Same with what you were just saying about the game. You might think, well, I can beat 3 games in a month and that will make it worth the $20 or whatever. But as you know, as Handstern will tell you too about, you know, his purchase with Claire Obscure, like best intentions, sometimes they don't work out that way. And you end up just, you know, have your game warming the proverbial shelf.
You can't have your game and play it too, right?
Yeah,
That's
right.
Exactly.
But at least I'm not paying $20 a month for something I'm not using, right?
You can get a license to a game, but have your game and play it too. It's a whole
No.
other thing in this
Yep.
day and time.
Yep, it's true.
All right, gentlemen. Well, that brings me to my last question here. We talk about it in another segment. If we do a deep dive on the Xbox handheld, but this news, you know, what do we think? How does this affect maybe, you know, the price or anything like that? You know, I've heard some rumors, you know, the Z2E version of this Xbox handheld is going to come in at around 1,000, which, given that it's for all intents and purposes an HX 370, maybe it cut down a little bit. You know, $1,000 seems like a great price, but I mean, do we see this maybe going up? I mean, we haven't heard anything real tangible anyway. I mean, what do we think? 15?
$9.99 with, get this, 6 months of Xbox Game Pass for free.
I'm in full agreement. Full agreement with that. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, all right. Everyone, let us know what you think down below. Are you as pessimistic as I am at this point, or are you holding out a little bit of hope left still? And while you're down there letting us know what you think, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you can see all these wonderful other speedcasts we got going on. And thanks for watching.